to The Other Side, hosted by ASOS Avi. I'm your host, ASOS. How is everybody doing? I really want to thank the people in the comment of my last video. You guys are like really supportive. And by people, last I checked, it was only 1%, but I still really mean it because, sometimes when you make these videos, you're like, I'm making it for myself and I don't know if anybody's out there watching, and you get kind of lonely. So it was really sweet and really nice. I just want to give a big shout out to that person and say, thank you and everything like that. To me, mental health is like super important, and um, this does help me out. So it was nice to have that comment back. So welcome to the other side of Montana. If I sound out of breath, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try my best to get a video out and record. Yeah, life is still hitting me. Every time I'm like, I'm getting a break, it just keeps hitting me. But we're not going to talk about me. We talked about me too much in the last one. So, the other side of Montana. I don't know much about Montana. Ooh, I hit my microphone. I don't know much about Montana, but apparently there's over 1 million people living in the state, which I think is insane because I really don't know much about Montana. Like, I feel like the western top half of the United States is very mysterious to me. Montana is not something that you hear much on the news either. So those states to me are very mysterious, and I want to know more about them. But did you know that there are elk, deer, and antelope that outnumber the humans? So there's 1 million people in the state, and the animals still outnumber the humans. It's insane to think about, but also really cool to think about because us humans do infringe on animals' lands and push them out and make them go extinct. And I think it's horrible. So shout out to Montana for taking care of its animals. Now, it's known as the treasure state. It states animals the grizzly bear, which is the same as California's, which when I did that, I was like, what do you mean it's the grizzly bear? Isn't California's state animal the grizzly bear? And then I double checked, and both of them are. But California has a lot of state birds, so kind of cool fact. It's the 41st state. It was home to the Crow, Cheyenne, Blackfeet, and Kalispel native tribes. The land was largely unexplored to outsiders until Lewis Clark's exploration, but the native tribes felt like it only brought settlers that encroached on their way of life. The Lakota, Sioux, Cheyenne, and Aparoha band together and took back their land. They defeated the U.S. Army at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. But even though that victory happened, settlers continued building on their land, which is really sad. So now that we know facts about Montana, we're understanding what the land looks like. It was very much open land that was largely unexplored. So let's get into the spooky, ooky, and kooky side of Montana. First up is going to be Dahl Mansion in Hamilton, Montana. It was built in 1896 by the famous Copper King Marcus Daly, who brought an old homestead in the quaint town of Hamilton, Montana. Daly was a wealthy businessman who brought the mansion, naming it Riverside, a Victorian-style home. The house remained boarded up and empty from 1941 to 1980. That's a long period of time. That's 40 years, if my math's correct. So you're probably like, that's not the correct amount of time. I don't do math. It was quick math, by the way. So after the death of Margaret Daly, so his wife died, the place remained empty for years. And today the mansion is now being operated and owned by the state of Montana, who acquired the property in 1980. Visitors claim to see apparitions. They smell cigar smoke, which Dahl himself enjoyed in life. Additionally, the spirits linked to the home is said to be Marcus Daly Jr., who died of a heart attack. But there are rumors that it was a covered up suicide. But don't go to this place and say, oh, did you know that the son committed suicide and they covered up with a heart attack? No, 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 no. Back yourself up. It is a rumored covered up, but the official report on his death is a heart attack. Another strange event is the removal of frames around the home. This comes from staff who report frames out of place. They fix the frames, they return, they find them out of place again. There's also strange reports of feeling throughout the building. They feel being watched, and they feel like they can't walk anywhere without somebody being right behind them, which obviously nobody would be there. So do check out this place. You can check it out from June to October is really when they allow visitors to come over into the home. So if you are in Montana during the June through October months, 1000%, go check this place out. See if you feel anybody follow you. Ask the staff members if they saw any frames moving that day, if they smelled cigar smoke, and don't ask about the sun. Just don't do it. All right. Next place is Garrett Ghost Town. I love ghost towns. I think ghost towns are so cool, whether they have paranormal activity or not. The other side is not about that. It's about talking about phenomenon. It's talking about spooky, ooky, kooky things. And to me, ghost towns are spooky, ooky, and kooky. I mean, you cannot deny that you go there and you just are shocked at seeing a town just decimated. So we're going to talk about Garrett Ghost Town in Drummond, Montana. So apparently it made to be a ghost town twice because 20 years after establishment, the gold ran out and the population dropped from 1,200 to 150. And in 1912, a fire destroyed the town's business. Garrett did not even survive World War I with it wiping out all of its remaining property. Okay, so that was one. The second one is that in 1934, gold soared once again with miners returning to Garrett. Abandoned buildings hoping to strike it rich. Once World War II hit, the mining industry was met with the restrictions, making it costly and difficult to mine. It left it abandoned once again in 1940. Some of the buildings in the town, such as Kelly's Saloon, are rumored to be the most haunted. So if you do check it out, that will be your spooky, ooky, and kooky vibe. So, done with that ghost town. Spooky, ooky, kooky. Crazy that it had two turns to be a booming place and it just completely ruined it both times. So now we're going to go to the next place. We're going to go to Old Montana Prison. I think prisons, sanitariums are probably like my top. Like if I ever go to them, I think I would be very overwhelmed. They're gigantic places to investigate. They're gigantic places to even fathom what went on in them. So this is the Old Montana Prison in Deer Log, Montana. Now, it was the prison from 1870 until 1979, with the last of its prisoners moving to a new facility west of town. In 1959, the prison riot made international news where inmates held the prison for 36 hours. They locked guards in the hole, murdered the deputy warden, and they held the warden hostage while demanding for better conditions before the National Guard was called in. The two inmates who organized the riots, Lee Smart and Jerry Miles, ended the riots in a murder-suicide. While that incident is the most known, there are countless scares in the prison. And while some served their sentence and moved on in life or death, others still have not been able to leave the prison with an undeniable energy. Ghost hunters report footsteps, voices, objects moving, and more. So, super tragic riot. Definitely, I think the riot really is probably holding like a residual energy in the prison, 1,000%. And I really want to know how that charged up the building more, because obviously prisons are going to be haunted. A lot of people do die in prisons, unfortunately, and some people never leave, sadly. So that riot must have just really amped it up. So it's probably a pretty scary place to check out if you are ever able to even. Okay. Our next place is Montmartre Cemetery. I probably said that wrong. It's probably my Mexican coming out. In Butte, Montana. It's located in an old mining town. The first to witness anything in the cemetery was two police officers in 1970 when they were patrolling the property. They saw someone in a wheelchair pass through the locked gates. The two police officers ran over to the gates of the cemetery to see if anyone needed help, but they found no one. No wheelchair tracks in the snow. There are many who report seeing the wheelchair ghost at night and during the day. So basically, this cemetery was fine. Nobody in the town thought anything of it. They're like, it's just an old mining cemetery. And then all of a sudden one day these two police officers see something. And ever since then, it's like awakened something in the cemetery where now everybody claims to see something. So I do think that you should go check it out and see like for yourself what you can find in the cemetery, because it is pretty crazy to think about that. I would want to go check it out just to see if I could see the wheelchair man. And it's even scary to think that like you see something and it's snowing and there's like no tracks and you're just like, that's not how it works. That is not how it works. Not one bit. Woo! On to the next. Boulder Hot Springs in Boulder, Montana. Now, every time I heard Boulder, I kept going back to Colorado, and I was like, we're in Montana, not Colorado. And I kept having an identity crisis every time that I kept looking at it, and I always find it funny when places are named after each other. Like there's a Boulder in Colorado, there's a Boulder in Montana, there's a Salem here, there's a Salem there. It's overwhelming for me. It really is. So, besides the point. It was constructed in 1863 by James Riley, who also built a saloon and bathhouse in order to cater to local miners and ranchers in the area. The resort has changed ownerships a few times, but each took well care of the resort, with the resort receiving renovations in 1910, with each room being an antique vibe. There is a guest who refuses to leave who goes by the name of Simone. Sorry. Oh my god, my nose is itching. That's why. As she was murdered in the old office area of the resort. Guests report an unexplained perfume aroma with no source. There's also a suite named after her where she spends most of her time. It really didn't say how she was murdered, but I think it's really sad that Simone was murdered and she hasn't even been able to leave. She's very much a restless spirit, and I hope maybe one day we can help her go to the other side. But I think it's probably because her murder wasn't solved properly. I think that's probably what's keeping her behind. And I'm just gonna guess based on like the research that I did. Maybe y'all can find for yourself if you go and see why does she stay there. Really is her murder what's holding her back from crossing over to the other side? Gotta check it out. Gotta find out for yourself. Next one, Grand Street Theater in Helena, Montana. The theater was commissioned as a memorial to the minister's wife, Carla Hogan, who died in 1905. Clara was known for the comfort and joy that she brought to the community and the children. Today, actors and patrons claim to see Gelton Getaway Inn in Gelton, Montana. It opened in June 18th, 1927 as a luxury hotel. Fun fact, it was the first hotel in Montana to have a telephone in every room. Fancy! The hotel was used as a stopover for railroad travelers. It was the site of a grisly murder. A female housekeeper was murdered by her boyfriend on the property. Her spirit has been spotted by many. People claim that if you look into a mirror, she will appear to stand behind them. Another patron is a man. Another apparition, sorry. Oh, Lord help me. Another apparition is of a man that appears to be playful, turning the lights on, playing the piano when guests are nearby. By the way, if a ghost plays me piano music, I'm not going to be scared. I'm just going to sit there and enjoy their beautiful music. I know you're saying that I talk a big game, but I dare it to happen. Maybe I'll be scared at first. You're probably laughing. You're like, see, there it is. I'd probably be scared at first, like, oh shit, the piano's playing by itself. But then, all right, I will sit there with that ghost and be like, play me something good. I don't even care what it is. Excuse me. Play me something good. I'm down. Sorry. The next spirit is believed to be the most sinister, where guests report feeling an uneasy presence who makes them feel sad and helpless. The spirit is known to push and shove unexpected patrons. So definitely get a room. Definitely check it out. Oh, I have a sidebar story. So when I was researching the story, it reminded me of when I worked in a hotel room. When I worked in a hotel as a maid, and we had staff members who would date the railroaders. It was a big problem. They stopped it. They cleaned up the hotel and everything like that. But one of the waiters was murdered by a railroad worker. And if you work the graveyard shift, because they have a graveyard shift because it's a diner / hotel, if you work graveyard, she will be known during the graveyard shift because it's super dead, super quiet. I mean, she will show up during the day. Like, I won't lie. Like, there are moments during the day where, like, she'll throw stuff and she'll scare cooks. But at night is really when she likes to hang out because she knows that it's slow. There's not going to be very many customers. It's going to be very quiet and she'll be able to make her presence more known. So when I heard about that story about, like, the the housekeeper being murdered by her boyfriend, it really just brought me back to my days of working in a hotel that kind of had something similar happen, except for it was in the diner, not really in the hotel. Even though the hotel is pretty creepy, like trying to do housekeeping in a hotel can be very, very scary. Dude Ranch Lodge in Billings, Montana. I have a lot in Billings. It was constructed in 1950 by Annabelle and Percival Goon, with 56 guest rooms decked out in Western fashion. I just thought that was a funny fact that it kept saying. It earned reputation as a unique place to stay and a spot in the National Register of Historic Places. The Dude Ranch is rumored to be haunted. The rumors started with owner Goon dying in a car accident in 1962. His widowed wife was running things until her health declined. Hotel staff cared for Annabelle until she passed away in a nursing home in 1983, which is when they claim that paranormal activity began. Since Annabelle's death, there have been strange phenomenon reported, such as dark shapes, unlocking of doors, missing items. The lights will be turned on and off while knocking at the door. Nobody's there on the other side. There's a female voice caught on tape in the basement. Room 223 and 224 have the highest level of paranormal activity, but room 226 is the most haunted. It was the room where her grandson, who took over management of the hotel after her death, resided in. Now, there is strange sounds of children laughing up and down the hall, and there's a man in a blue shirt seen hanging around the kitchen area. So check it out, get a room, determine if it's haunted or not, see if maybe you can see Annabelle, or if you can see your grandson, or maybe Mr. Goon himself, and make your own judgment. See it for yourself. Always go to hotels and stay in haunted hotels. It's always worth it. And I know what you're saying. You're a psychopath. Thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, next is Juliano's. Oh my god, I'm Mexican. Jesus. Originally the stable of the Sandstone Castle in 1902. A resident ghost is the former owner of the estate, Ernest Murray, seen by the restaurant staff. Staff know not to leave the upstairs closet open. That is where Ernest would allegedly hang out, and when left open, the paranormal activity increased. Spirits like to move objects, slam doors, and non-believers will get the brunt of the spirits. So check it out because the food's amazing and the ghosts are a bonus. But also, if you are a non-believer, I triple dog dare you to go, because these spirits will know it and they will come for you. All right. Our last place in Billings is Hotel Mead. It was constructed in 1875 in Bank, but it moved to Dillon in 1821 due to Dillon getting the county seat. It was flourishing. The building stood vacant until 1890, when Dr. John Dillon Mead bought the building and turned it into a plush hotel, becoming the center of the town's social life, bringing the community close. And there's one spirit that's believed to linger, which is Dorothy Doone, a 16-year-old who drowned in the nearby Dread Pond in 1916. Many visitors believe to see her apparition. Fort Beck Theater in Fort Beck, Montana. Fort Beck, come on. Built in 1934 by the Army Corps of Engineers as a place to entertain. The work constructed the Fort Beck Dam. The venue is extremely popular, remaining a seasonal favorite. However, there is a chance that you will see more than one show. Performers and staff members have reported strange sounds in the dressing room with seeing apparitions. Some people say that they hear sounds of men working when the theater is completely empty. The most common spot of a ghost is that of a man wearing 1930s work clothes, who appears to be friendly, but they believe that it's the man who fell and died during construction of the building. So check it out for the performers and for the ghosts. Excuse me, the ghosts are always a plus. Grand Union Hotel in Fort Bennington, Montana. The hotel was built in 1882, just 7 years before Montana would become a state. The hotel was built at the height of Fort Bennington's prosper and the steamboat era along the Missouri River. Within a year of the hotel opening, fortunes declined due to the North Pacific Railroad in Helena in June 1883, and the Canadian Pacific Railroad to the Clary in August 1883. The ending of the long supremacy of the Benton Road as the territory's most important highway. The hotel failed in 1884 and was sold to the sheriff's cell and went through several owners who renovated the hotel. In 1917, with the World War and the homestead land booming, two ranchers bought the Grand Union. Within 2 years, it failed again due to prohibition, dry weather, poor crops, and failing due to the Great Depression. But it is rumored to have a lot of activity. It's rumored to have a lot of voices, apparitions, those things of sort. So definitely try to check it out. Try to see if you can get in there and see for yourself what is happening with this building. It sounds like it had a lot of negativity because of how many times it failed, which is really depressing. Maybe check it out, see if there's any ghosts, see if maybe it's just haunted because of how much negativity it has, and then it just attracted the wrong type of spirits. Next and lastly is Paris Gibson Square Museum of Art in Great Falls, Montana. It was built in 1896 as the city's first high school and was open until 1975. The museum, so it was a high school turned into a museum, process that. In 1977, with parts of the building resembling an old-fashioned school, it has over 800 pieces of art on display. Staff members who work there report hearing children playing throughout the museum, the sounds of children singing at the former music room. Personally, if I heard singing, I would dip right out. No thanks. There are reports of apparitions. One is a young high school age girl who is thought to be the old janitor's daughter who lived in the attic with her family. Excuse me? But many say that they know if it's haunted, just know that staff refuse to go into the building alone. So it was basically an old high school turned into an art museum. And they believe that one of the main spirits, again, is that girl that lived in the attic with her family, which I thought was just bizarre and strange and weird. Like, process that. Imagine you live in the attic of your school. That is just I feel so bad. Like, I really wish there was something we could do to help them out and everything like that. But staff members don't like going in there by themselves. So, I mean, make your own judgment about the place. We survived. We lived. Let's see if I'll use this footage or not. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This was the other side of Montana. Keeping spooky, ooky, and kooky. It's almost spooky and ooky, kooky season. So, you know, everybody's hyped and excited for Halloween. Even though it's just August, we still want the spooky, ooky, and kookies. Okay? I was your host, ASOS. Thank you all again. Appreciate anybody who watches. Have a good one. Have a great life. Have a great whatever. And thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bye.